All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good all that stuff to everyone showing up on a Sunday. We're gonna make a pretty quick show. I think the other guys have plans today. I'm actually leaving to Mexico tomorrow, so I gotta start packing and all that. But
I was gonna say, like, you didn't say anything about the show, and then I got your
the
email
invite.
text thing or whatever, the invite yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought he was gonna be in Narcos land.
No, not today, man. But we do. Thanks for coming through, man. I know you're busy today and all that good stuff. But we do have a special guest for the second time on the stream. We got Matrix Comics just in time for Halloween coming up. What is that? Is that like Tuesday? Tuesday.
Yeah.
I will be in Mexico for Halloween. That'll be really cool.
I'll be at work while all the kiddies are coming around trick or treating.
Yeah, he's gonna throw an egg to them. But Matrix, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming through.
And happy I can make it. Sorry to everyone missing out last week. Things came up, but happy to come through a few days before Halloween and a few days before Devil's Night.
Yeah.
You guys know about Devil's Night, right? I know Pickles does.
Devil's Night.
Fire it up. That's coming up. So happy to be here with you guys and ready to talk some comics and get into the spooky spirit still.
Yeah, man. You sent me I was looking through your list that you sent me and then just going through your Instagram, and man, you got some stuff that I've never heard of before. I couldn't really find any recent sales for it either. So this might be an opportunity for anyone who's watching the live or the stream on the rewind. This might be an opportunity to go through those back issue bins and start hunting. So
yeah, good luck with a lot of these books, and real quick, wanted to say that, part of the reason for, jumping on with Ferd and Pickles coming through today and getting the stream together was, there was obviously October's coming through and people, love the horror stuff. Obviously everybody's posting such cool, like super sweet horror books. And, there was a sale for Faust #1. And we'll get into some of that in a little bit. Faust #1 first printing, late September for just under $1,000, right? And I'm sure some of y'all know, Faust book by Tim Vigil and David Quinn, writer. So this book sold, and cover price had actually it made the Shakers list. And I remember I was at the airport flying off to somewhere, and I was like in the morning, I was reading what they wrote, and I was so pissed at whoever the writer was for cover price wrote this thing, because they just didn't know what they were talking about, unfortunately. And if they did, they didn't really put it into what they're writing about. So I ended up sort of writing, like, here's what I would have wrote. I reached out to cover price too. I was like, hey, I saw this thing sold. I'd love to throw my hat at a ring to write something. Like I've written stuff, for websites before or whatnot. And cool. They're like, we got our guys on it. No problem. Great. But it just wasn't anything. So I kind of rewrote this saying of like, well, this is what I would have written and posted it. And Nick from Key Collector reached out to me and was like, hey, like, are you interested in doing a Copper Age horror in establishing a Copper Age horror category on the app?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I've been working on this list for like almost a year of books. They're just, just making lists for myself, checking off my own like books that I'm looking for, hunting for, making the connections, and ended up pulling together this list of 8 books, 9 books that went live, I think about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
If Keep Collector app, you probably got a push notification, which is super cool. Like, by the way, like, I think it's just really rad that, like, I'm into these like gnarly ass books, and people sort of got a glimpse into some of the stuff that I've been into, and obviously a lot of people are into, and so that's the impetus for the list, sort of how it came together, and happy to share it, and hopefully everybody who saw it, or if you're interested in this kind of stuff, learned something, or at least maybe saw something you hadn't seen before.
Yeah, and welcome to the chat, Doricon. He's over on the East Coast as well. We got Matrix in the house. We're just gonna basically let him take over the show today.
He's famous now. He's famous now.
I'm just out here trying to get some gnarly ass books in people's hands, man, because some of this stuff is wild.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I mean, it's got me thinking all that. Real quick before we get into the list, I want to thank everyone for coming through. We had a show on Thursday, kind of restarting one of the old shows that I was doing about a month ago. If you haven't joined the new Discord, the link's right there. Sign up. We're getting some pretty good traction there as well. Pretty good stuff, and I think it's benefiting collectors in the community and all that good stuff. So, what's up, Commander Cody? What's going on, man? Thanks for coming through. Yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm sure we got a lot of long time subscribers in the chat here. So we're at 394. So we were going pretty fast, but yeah, I need to get that crazy 500 mark. We'll get there soon, hopefully. But without further ado, I did make us some slides, so I'll go to those real quick, and then we'll go over to your Instagram matrix. But here, let me do this real quick. I just want to check something. So here, let's see here. Oops, hold on one second. All right.
That Final Fantasy background it's so funny, dude.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's me and Jason's like basically the reason we're friends is because of Final Fantasy 7, man. We used to play that back in the day, so it's kind of the whole like thing of our friendship and all that good stuff. So
that's right.
First off, Cadaver, talk about us a little bit, and then I'll go to your Instagram, man.
Yeah, so I just posted this book I think yesterday, and actually I was like I wonder if it's gonna get taken down or not. I had no idea if it was gonna be like flagged for something. I definitely have a better photo though on my Instagram for sure. But this, and you guys obviously, if you're familiar with this book or the artist in it, like I'd love to hear from you guys for sure. This is an S. Clay Wilson cover with stories inside by the artist S. Clay Wilson, work by Tim Tyler, Brad Moore. These are names of artists who are still working now, who are still very active in making their current comics. But this book is just one of those books that I came across a while back that just kind of blew my mind in terms of the artwork. I mean, so I'm in New York City, and I go to a lot of like museums and galleries, and I'm really looking at a lot of artwork, and I've been able to see actually some of S.K. Wilson's original art in person at galleries here in the city. And he's just one of these artists that's just like has his crafts, has a specific style, has his line work, known for his kind of over the top, absurdist like humor to what he's doing and the work he's making. I mean, and this scene is just absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, like what's happening on this cover here, just like the body horror, the psychological sense of just insanity that is being portrayed here. And when you have an artist that's going there the way Wilson did, and it wasn't from a place of commercialism, he was anti-commercialism, which is why he worked with Boneyard Press Publishing for this book, because they were very much in the same vein. He's just somebody. He's an artist who has a vision, who has a way he sees the world, and is just so ripe in the way he presents these scenes of macabre manifestations that are happening here. So cover wise, one of the most brutal things that I've seen. I have a raw copy of this, and I sent you some one of the interior shots, and I posted on my Instagram also of like a sense of what happens inside of it. And I couldn't post any other images because it just gets too wild. What I was really talking about with this one also is the publisher itself, Boneyard Press, which was started by this guy named Hart D. Fisher. In the 90s, dude, you could YouTube him right now. He was on Sally Jesse Raphael. He was on like all those 80s, like Phil Donahue, like Larry King Live. Because his Boneyard Press is the one that put out the Jeffrey Dahmer comic book that, if you guys remember, made like some hot 10 lists when that show came on.
Oh my God, that was people were fighting on the CBSI Facebook over that.
Yeah, and they were fighting about it when it came out, right? Like that was the thing. And Hart D. Fisher, the publisher and founder of Boneyard Press, who put that book out, was on Larry King Live, literally sitting next to one of the victims' sisters who was on that show with Larry King. And they're like, why would you make a comic book glorifying this, this person and these murders and whatnot? And Hart D. Fisher, look, he was there standing up for his First Amendment's rights, like first of all, and the artist that he was working with to sort of tell this story of, in his words, you know, from like the facts. He was just saying the facts of like what was going on with that book and the storyline. All that to say is that he was somebody who courted controversy and never ran away from it. And at the bottom line, just stood up for what artists were doing and what they were trying to say. It's kind of like with Two Live Crew. You know, Two Live Crew is like one of the most important musical groups in history. Them and his sister, right? They took on the Supreme Court for the explicit, right? The sticker, the parental advisory sticker, right? And they're like, no, this is our free speech. We can make whatever music we want. And Boneyard Press is very much in that same vein. So, yeah, again, on my Instagram, I have interior pinup you can see of Tim Tyler's work. Yeah, so that's a closer shot of it. But yeah, Nick, you can see where Nick had the key collector blacked out like some of their body parts. But,
yeah, I was looking at these on actually your Instagram account, and I was like, wow, this is like reminds me of like Hellraiser type stuff. You know what I mean? That's what reminded me of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, when you say extremely tough book to find, I mean, I only found one on eBay listed for like $35. And it's an okay, you know, it's not in the greatest condition, but that was the only listing I could find. I couldn't find any like recent sales. So this is definitely like either a not known book or just no one's like looking for it. But man,
yeah,
when you talk about horror, I mean that's exactly what it is. So anyway,
I mean, maybe like, you know, like Pickles and Fedora could talk to this also. You know, what I learned about like Copper Age horror specifically, because a lot of indie presses, a lot of like, you know, there's like regional books that came out, you know, that are just like totally DIY, but like limited to like maybe like 500 print run, because it's just like some dude, you know, this like crosses the line of like power comics also, right? The sort of self-taught people who just have something to say and they need to say it. James O'Barr, The Crows is a perfect example of like that line. It's probably the most well-known, but you know, these things like they kind of have a life of their own. But these collectors who have these books, man, they read the fuck out of these books, dude. Like they read them. They don't collect them to like flip them and like get a 9.8 and like what. That's not the thing. So when you do find copies like this, they're read through, man. They're read through.
Sure.
And if not, they've been beat up because they've been in back boxes because, you know, nobody's picking them up. But you know, so it's hard to find these books like in high grade for sure. For the most part. Yeah,
just to find them in general, man. Jason, like in your hunts, man, like I know you're a big horror dude. Like what are you looking for horror books like all the time, or is it more like October-esque?
It depends if I see them. I mean, I watch horror, like watch and read horror shit like year round. Usually, like that's just my favorite genre of movies and stuff like that. But like, and like a lot of these books I haven't even seen. Like the cover of this one gives me a big time like 80s Cannibal Corpse album cover vibes.
Yeah, dude.
Like back when they had Butchered at Birth and like Eaten Back to Life and like those albums.
Well, that's the thing. Is like someone like Vince Locke, right, who is known for Dead World for Caliber Comics, who did a lot of who did the work for Cannibal Corpse, if I remember correctly. You know, he's looking at you know, S.K. Wilson, right? He's of that school as well, so that's not far off, man, for sure.
Yeah, and Fedora, man, like oh, sorry, Jason, you were gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say I actually found one of I almost bought a old Cannibal Corpse T-shirt that I found. It was a Butchered at Birth one. I was like, dude, that album cover is so awesome, but I was like, I can't wear that anywhere because like in the background, like it's basically like these two zombies that are dissecting a friggin' body on a table. But like in the background, there's like a bunch of dead like zombie babies like hanging from like chains and shit. And I was like, I could wear that, but I was like, I can't get away with the dead babies hanging in the background. Like, somebody's gonna say something to me.
Yeah. Fedora, man, I heard it's raining over in New York, man. Are you doing okay on your walk?
Well, I just woke up, so I'm getting something to eat, and then I got to get ready to do some errands. But I don't know. I
Fedora's
was a
like
little.
Brad Pitt, dude, in like all the movies. He's like always eating, dude.
He's the Brad Pitt of our podcast for sure.
Yeah.
Nah, because it was raining, so
Yeah.
I had Yeezys on. I was like, well, I can't wear Yeezys in the rain, so let me change. So then I changed it, and then I got my umbrella, and now it's not raining anymore. So I'm a little bit frustrated. But I guess I'll just hold the umbrella just in case it rains again. What the fuck, dude? I mean, those kinds of comics are like. I've never seen that one, but definitely there are a lot of those kinds of comics in dollar bins in Midtown Comics. I guess it's just it's one of those books where if you the fuck.
Whoa.
It's one of those books where if you know, right?
Yeah, right.
But there's definitely like, I mean, this is not really in my wheelhouse, but I've definitely seen books of that vein come through like all the time, like these weird like 90s horror looking books that are like in the dollar bins, and there's definitely people that buy them, but I never really ask, like what it is. But there's still people that like put stuff like that on their pull list. Actually, like there was a few guys yesterday that had some like weird horror people looking girls dissecting stuff on their pull list, which is cool. So I know that even to this day, there's still like a niche market for it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Get that 9.8.
Matrix, let's talk about this copper age horror you got here.
Yeah. So speaking of, like 9.8s in some of these, this book and this company, Pacific Comics, out of all the books on my list, this is probably the one that you might come across the most, because Pacific Comics, or PC, they were two brothers who started this publishing. They lived in the West Coast. I want to say San Francisco, and during this in the late '60s or early '70s, these two brothers were walking, and they saw somebody who was selling comic books out of their station wagon, and it was this, and they said, "We'll sell you all these comics for $500." And this is in the late '60s, early '70s, and it was like 3,000 comic books or something like that. So they bought these comics for that price. They were selling these comics out of their house, and then they would have people come over to the house. Kind of like, I'm here in New York, Fedora. I'm in the Bronx, so I know Street Side Anthony. And if you guys know Street Side Anthony, the legend, who sets up in his house in the Bronx and has people come over and buy, like Erod 212 is there a lot. Ian Jane off Instagram is there a lot.
Yeah.
It's a community, right? This is basically what these guys were doing with their comics out of their house. And it turned into they got so much money, they got so much return from this investment that they started a publishing company, Pacific Comics, and they started to distribute comics as well. So they worked with lots of people. They've worked again with, like I mentioned here in my write-up, Dicko and Jack Kirby. Again, they're known for publishing The Rocketeer and some of Dave Stevens' early work as well. But they ended up closing in 1986. But in 1981, they worked with some horror legends like Mike Plug as well on this series to start this new series called Twisted Tales. And this came out in 1981. And this book here, this book here, it has a cover by Bernie Wrightson. And what I talk about and why I think it's important is that this book, specifically Pacific Comics, was a non-Comic Code Authority publisher, so they didn't have a comic code tied to what they published. So of course, like as you guys probably know, in the 70s, the way publishers got around horror and nudity was the magazine format. They published you got the explosion of the magazines in the 70s, horror magazines, because you could publish whatever you wanted to because magazines weren't under the Comic Code Authority.
Gotcha.
But in the 80s, you had these indie publishers who just opted out of the Comic Code Authority. So in a comic book format, you have a Wrightson cover with 4 decapitated heads around this guy's waist while he chases down these 2 young kids across the field, and you just know he's going to catch up with them. What's interesting is that Key Collector couldn't publish the entire quote that I submitted to them for this write-up, but in the inside issue cover where the editor's letters are, they talk about their conversation with Bernie directly, and they came to him and they said, "Look, we want you to do the cover." And he was just like, "Okay, but give me limitations. Like, tell me what I can't do because I have to know like what my limits are." And they're like, "No, like we have do whatever you want to do. Like, there's no limits here. You could draw whatever you want." And he was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Sure. I can do whatever I want," because he wasn't used to that, right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Absolutely, this is a horror comic. Draw whatever you want." And so this is the cover that we get. And I call this arguably one of his grisliest covers of his entire career. You get a lot of like he's a very moody artist, right? You get a lot of moods with Bernie Wrightson. You get like a sense of he has a lot of sense of depth. He's really got a perspective, and he uses that to sort of create these like moods in his drawings that people are known for, especially the Swamp Thing covers. But this one, you just get straight up maniac Bernie Wrightson, and who says this isn't a self portrait? Like, who says this isn't like his id self portrait? I mean, because you have to go to places when you're an artist and you're in your mind, like to come up with things like this, and the fact that he hasn't at least publicly been able to go there, let's say, who knows what's in his sketchbooks,
Right.
but we get this, the American Psycho comic is making the rounds and it's kind of hot on everything, and I thought it would have been better.
That book was mid.
Variant cover with his sketchbook on it. You know what I mean? Sketchbook from the movie.
Yeah. I remember the sketchbook from the movie. Yeah.
Like a 1 in 100 incentive with that on the cover, not like a business card, blood on it. Like, let's see Patrick Bateman. And here, maybe we're seeing Bernie Wrightson. But this is all like my like analytical mind going into comic books. But I think it's a great cover, and there's 38 9.8s out there from a book from 1981.
It's clean.
It's tough.
But
it takes a special kind of collector to collect heads the way he is. We collect comic books. He collects heads.
Yeah. 9.8 heads. Send it to CGC and see if they'll grade that. 9.8.
Oh God, I'm sure there's probably some point in the past or future where CGC's received some stuff in a box that they weren't supposed to get. Whether it's a head or not, I don't know. But
it could be.
Good. Would you grade this for me? Like, how's the? Did I do good with the embalming process? Like, will you guys encapsulate this for me so I can keep it?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a brown man, so I definitely get off-white pages. That's for sure.
Yeah. Nice. I think you've talked about this before, but I want to hear about it more.
What else is to say about this book? Like I said, I had to include it, for people who may be new to Copper Age horror. But this is the book. This comes out 86, and this is it. This is the foundation for Copper Age horror. I don't think that's, in my opinion, I don't think that's arguable. Like, this is it. And what Gore Shriek does is, brings back the anthology format in this new way that is just extreme, while also being digestible by the masses. What gets talked about with Gore Shriek is that, this is in the mid 80s. Think about the cultural context here. You have metal on the rise. You have Thrasher magazine on the come up. You have the proliferation of VHS horror movies, bootleg B movies from Italy. These extreme underground. Faces of Death is coming out on VHS. If not around this time, then very soon. So it's Gore Shriek is sort of like zeitgeist of what's happening throughout that time. The midst of the Satanic Panic as well. Night Stalker is happening, on the West Coast. Like, conservative America is very present, and in the midst of all that,
Mortal Kombat and the ESRB.
Well, that's later. That's later in the 90s, but that's coming up. You're starting to get that, right? But that's definitely on the horizon. So Gore Shriek is in the middle of all that. Making these works. Tom Skulin, the founder of Fantaco, which also was a publisher and distributor, I believe, in the West Coast, but don't quote me on that one. But you know, it's just a killer book. This is like Tales from the Crypt 1, or you know, this is like whatever like pre-code horror book that you know people like cream themselves over. This is top rage horror. Like this book is that book, you know. And again, only I think like a 15 9.8s of this book. It's an all black front cover, not an all black back cover like Cadaver is, but this one is, and I just can't believe that you know it sits at 500. This is like a $2,000 book, dude. Like, there's no way that like this book should be $500, in my opinion. It's too important. But it's one of those books that I think there's room there if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I just think it's gonna be it's a historic book that's gonna like you know have its day like at some point, you know.
No, I mean, like, I think I mean, the fact that it's $500 for Greg Capullo's like first, you know, artwork, and it's a horror book. I mean, and it's, you know, it's not a big publisher. I mean, like, and you know, our homie Michael Baker has this in 9.8. Yeah. So, and he said he won his auction. He won on an eBay auction for 360. So, I mean, deals are out there. You just got to hunt for it. But man, that's a step up for sure. I like
Michael,
that.
That's a steal. Congratulations on that. And you know, when it comes to this book, against Gore Streak, I think it's probably the book that maybe people have seen before because it's just such a popular cover by Bruce Baldwin Fuller. But you know, I think it's mandatory. This one is mandatory if you can find it. This is the official last issue of Gore Streak, the volume 1. Now I went on a deep dive with this book last year. Like around this time last year, I was like, God, man, I was so ready to share with everybody, but you know, I had to make sure that I got a copy before I could I already knew, like, when I came across it, it was kind of already like having some like just one of those insider books. So this is an ash can that was printed by Fancico that was only available either through the artists that were involved in it or by ordering by mail directly from Fancico. I reached out. I came across. I was able to connect with the artist who is featured on the cover of this issue. His name is The Gurch, and The Gurch is an underground artist who works predominantly with Fancico. Who's still working to this day and has a new book coming out next year. He's somebody who he's like you know, whatever musician, like the musician's musician, whatever musician that like all musicians know, but not maybe the public knows, but all musicians know who that musician or an artist who like somebody knows. You know, he's somebody who you know Capullo definitely like knew of or whatever. Anybody who's working now knows who the Gurch is, but maybe the public doesn't. But this is a super hard one to come by. It's an ash can. It's just straight newsprint paper, so it picks up dirt like crazy and creases like crazy.
Yeah.
A 9.0 recently of this sold for just under $800.
Wow.
And the reason why this, and again, cover price picked it up, but they got it wrong. I don't mean to bag on cover price, but they just, you know, they want to put stuff out there. They need to get it right.
Yeah.
One got listed for $150 like a week and a half ago, and it said it was near mint 9.8. And I'm gonna say this right now, it was not. I woke up at 6 o'clock that morning and I saw that book. It's the first thing I do, probably like you guys. I check eBay immediately when I wake up. And I saw that listing and I zoomed in on it and I was like, it's not a 9.8, but it's this book, and no matter what it is, I should pick it up. But bro, I fell back to sleep. I fell back to sleep and I woke up like an hour later. It was sold and it made the cover price shakers list that week. And then it kind of blew up for a minute. And then that 9.0 sold. And I was like, and I was already going to put this book on my list. So, you know, it was already in my pipeline, but it kind of blew up. But, you know, I reached out to the Gurch last year. I was able to connect with them and I interviewed the Gurch over email. He's never had an interview published. He's a very low key person, very nice. He sent me shots of his sketchbook, like unpublished work that I wish I could share, but I told him I would never show anybody. But they're amazing. he's just one of these artists that's working, that's consistently working, and is your favorite artist, your favorite horror artist. This is his favorite horror artist. And I think he's completely sort of like overlooked in a way, but this book is hard to find, man, and it's expensive now, and I wish I would have got that book when I woke up, but I fell asleep. And
man, happens,
lesson learned.
Happens.
You know, I think there's only 198 of this out there, and
I bet.
there's maybe I think only like maybe 15 or 16 total graded.
That interior panel right there reminds me of Miracle Man when that cover, I think it's like issue 13. It's like
the death
cover.
Miracle
Boy or Miracle Kid, sorry, or like whatever his name is. Yeah. That's what it reminds me of, like his face for some reason. What you guys think about this interior stuff, man?
It's crazy, bro. That art is crazy.
It's really good.
That art is crazy.
Jason?
Oh, I always dig when like I always say that the true like test of an artist is if they can pull off black and white versus color. Like if you can, like, 'cause to me, like I see this in black and white, but in my head I can picture that in color. Like I can almost color, like, and that to me is like a true sign of like a genuine artist, because it's like all like I got a ton of tattoos and stuff like that, and like half of the stuff that I get compliments on is the black work that he does and stuff like that, and the lines and everything. So it's really cool to see like an artist be able to like do black and white well.
Yeah. No, man, this is hella creepy, dude. Like, I know people, zombie stuff, like, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know if there's like zombie fatigue out there, but like this still at that like that old school 80s, like this is totally 80s for sure.
I think zombies is coming back though.
I don't think zombies ever left. They're just consistently around.
They didn't leave, but
just
I feel like it's coming back, like it's coming up in a little bit. Like there's this dude who came in, a tourist. He bought all our Walking Dead keys, and he bought all the graded slabs we had of The Walking Dead.
Wow.
Damn.
That's a lot.
The Walking Dead is just like beating the life out of zombies, though. It's just like now you turn around, there's like The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. They got the Daryl Dixon spinoff. They've got the other one with what's her face and Negan in New York and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, dude, you had a good run for a while. Like I fell off watching The Walking Dead, I think, after like the alpha beta, like those seasons.
Yeah, that was a good season.
Which is like
they
near the
end
end of the series.
They just ended it after alpha beta. Yeah.
Well, like I didn't watch the last.
Is the New York one good with Negan? I didn't even know Negan had his own show.
I'm done with that show.
It's over. I didn't watch any of the spinoffs just because I didn't finish the series, so I don't know. I'm assuming they like kind of connect somehow. I've heard good things about the show. I can't remember what it's called though. It's like Walking Dead Lost City or something like that, or Dead City, or
it's over.
But it's like somehow
done.
Somehow Negan and what's her face, like Glenn's wife,
are friends.
They're like together again in that, even though she hates him.
Stupid. No, sorry, just kidding.
Spoilers for anybody that watches Walking Dead.
Faust 6, dude. Let's talk about this.
So as I mentioned earlier, the Faust #1 first print that sold for under 1,000 really established that book as the key that it is, and reignited, I think, a lot of people's interest in Tim Vigil as an artist. And Vigil is somebody who, is probably most well known for Faust, but he's still working today. And we'll get to more Tim Vigil later on.
But, Faust, I know that book.
Yeah. Actually, the omnibus is coming out, right? It's hitting stores. People have it right now. The variant cover by Vigil just made.
What's the omnibus look like? Somebody could pull that up for me. I just want to see what it looks like.
There's a variant cover that Tim Vigil did with a woman on the cover, and then there's which is a Kickstarter exclusive, and then there's I guess the regular cover that's just like almost looks like the Necronomicon almost, but with Faust's symbol on it.
I saw something. It was all black with red letters.
That might have been it.
That might have been it, but I'm not sure.
That's the that's the exclusive Kickstarter exclusive, and that just made the list because somebody the top 10 list because it sold for $500 recently. The omnibus did.
The omnibus,
yeah.
whatever. There's something of Faust. We do have an omnibus. I don't know what it was, but it's an all black with red like metallic letters or something like that. Yeah. It recently came out, right? I don't want to talk out of my ass.
Yeah. It just came out. The omnibus just
came out. Okay. So yeah. We had it.
The omnibus is about 500 pages of Faust.
Oh, that's good.
It's if you guys are not familiar with anybody out there is not familiar with Tim Vigil's work. Oh man, like this is just this is just a slice of his work. That's good of what he does. But needless to say, Tim Vigil is outlaw, copper age royalty, and this cover specifically, I think, is probably one of the most brutal covers of the series, and that's saying a lot considering that issue 1 is the character Faust holding a decapitated head that he just cut off. But this cover with this exploding guts and this sort of really intense visual on it is pretty amazing. I put this on there just because it's a great cover. It's a Faust book, and I think the series is it's well known to have been underordered later issues, really beginning around 6 or 7. The 6 or 7 issue numbers start to drop off, and issues 14 and 15 have a print run of I think it's around 4,000.
Wow, that's nothing.
4,000 to 5,000 for the last 2 issues, and that's straight from David Quinn and Tim Vigil when they talked about it on interviews. But the series is fire. More people are gonna be familiar with it now that the omnibus is coming out. And that people are starting to pick up key issues when they're available in 9/8. Right. I think it's something to look out for, and everybody knows if you came up in the 90s, these books were behind the counter. They were not for kids. Literally, this gets to the heart of why I love Copper Age horror so much, because it's so rebellious. I think it's one thing for pre-code horror where there was no code to go against.
Right.
The code was made for them, sure, and I get that. But in the 90s and 80s, when people were making comics like this, there was a code, and there was precedent for people being prosecuted for quote unquote obscene material. So I think this is way more metal than that going against the rules that have already been set, and established for decades, right? You have examples in Oklahoma of comic book shop owners going to jail for having some of these comic books and selling them.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's crazy.
Literally,
that's crazy.
That's what happened. And where I grew up in Texas, I'm from Texas. I remember my LCS. They had people from the local churches coming and seeing what kind of comic books they were selling, because they were like, what are these books you're selling to our kids, right? Because Faust number 6 hit the stands, and little Timmy got a hold of it, and now his mind is warped, right?
Of course.
And like, so that's just what I love about the genre, man. And this cover and some of the other covers on this list encapsulate that these artists were, moving forward with what they wanted to do. There goes the Day Brothers, that red cover. That's the next one.
Yeah.
That's the omnibus.
Yes, let's go to this one real quick, and then
this one again, just like what I'm saying, that this cover is just so brutal. The Dan Day, a Canadian artist. Caliber worked with the Day Brothers to bring together this anthology, and this is issue 1. And the interiors aren't as wild as anything.
The cover,
but the cover is like one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen.
Didn't I feel like there's a Hellraiser comic that that homaged that because we have it. So there's a Hellraiser comic that homaged that exact cover. So now it makes sense. So like, I see what you guys did there. I see.
I was gonna say, I was like, I think this artist watched the Hellraiser.
I think he is Pinhead. I am the artist.
Yeah. It's like with all the hooks and stuff like that.
Yeah, dude. I figured Jason would dig this cover for sure. And it's crazy, man. Like, this is this is an older book, right? Like from the early 90s, whatever. Caliber is not a huge publisher, but Man, look at the prices for this book, and like on eBay, you guys could go on right now and pay like $10 to $12 for this book.
And 9.8.
No, I mean just like a copy of it, which usually like these older books they go for like 20 to 30, like in okay condition, but
9.8 or bust. 9.8 or bust.
Yeah, yeah, the 9 other bus crap, man. Yeah, it's so funny.
Man, I can't even imagine this book in a 90, dude. I would feel
Yeah,
I
it's
would
red.
faint
There's no
myself.
way, man. But I mean, just for the pure art, it's like it's a bargain for sure. So
yeah.
Yeah, man. So let's see what else we got here.
The Razor.
The Razor. Let's see.
Oh,
We got-
yeah, that one. Yeah, and I'll go through these in the next one. A little bit quick because the last one that the Crow book is kind of
Yeah.
there's some breaking news. There's some breaking news on that one. But this one, I woke up this morning and I saw that the highest graded copy of this 96. This just sold this morning for $300. It was the best offer.
Wow.
And it's a magazine size. It's LB Cole's last cover before he passed away. It's also a swipe of a book from the 70s that I guess LB Cole knew about. I'm not sure. But if you click through further on the pictures, I'll show you what I mean. Because so that's what he swiped it from. Grave Tales #1, which came out in the early 70s. And that book right there was limited to 1,000 copies. It was originally put out.
Let me guess. You have one?
No, I don't have one of those.
I was about to go crazy if you did.
No, I should have picked one up, but it was actually put out as a coloring book. And if you colored it all in and sent it back, they would send you another book. I have no idea, dude. I tried to find what that book would have been.
Wow, that'd be cool.
It's lost to history, dude. It's lost to history. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was even more insane. But LB Cole, for some reason, completely homaged this Grave Tales cover for his last cover that he put out. And I think it's gnarly, like horror comic history that again, an artist that people love his pre-code horror stuff. But man, like, all right, look, dude, I dig Frank Miller's work. I love what he's doing right now. I don't give a shit what anybody says. The man is working. He's an artist and he gets to work and he makes things. And like, if I can like live out my life that way, 100%. And LB Cole did the same thing.
My man Frank Miller about to die soon. No, I mean, he's so old, bro.
With the pencil in his hand though. And
I
think
he's looking crazy. I'm trying to get his signature before. I don't mean to be that guy, but I like Frank Miller a lot. But this dude's charging 150 for a signature. I'm like, bro, like, you're not. Who's this dude? Billy Idol or whatever his name is from Green Day.
It's like, who's this money going to? You're dying.
Like, yeah, bro. Like, come on, you're killing me right now, bro. Anyway.
That's it. Hey man, people are paying $150 to get his autograph, man. I mean Jim Lee does the same thing too. So
yeah, but he's not on his deathbed, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's Jim Lee,
Yeah.
All right, anyways.
Anyway, Evil Ernie limited edition, man. Let's talk about this and we'll get into the Faust book.
The Faust, Crow Faust. Yeah. I had to put this one on because I'm an Evil Ernie freak, dude. He's the reason why I got back into it in comics in 2018. I just was like, I needed to get my Evil Ernie books. And even then it was still hard to come across those. This book right here.
Do you get them at Midtown Comics?
What happened?
We still get Evil Ernie books regularly.
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking about the original Eternity run.
Oh, never mind. No.
Yeah, like the books they're like $500 for like
No. Yeah, we don't have those.
So this book came out just after issue number 5, which was the last issue of the series. And again, one of these overlooked key books. My man Stephen Hughes, rest in peace, who died 2000, who is best known for his work on Evil Ernie and Lady Death.
Yep.
I think his art is phenomenal. He is a master at what he did. He was sort of this artist that because of Chaos Comics and their popularity in the 90s, kind of crossed over from the underground into mainstream and still kept the way he drew. He still kept the rawness of what he was doing. And people talk about Michael Turner a lot and him passing young. Stephen Hughes is the same sort of, it should be in that same conversation, but amongst horror, and comics at large. And this comic book is his first cover of Evil Early and Lady Death. It's not his first cover as an artist, but it is his first cover of Evil Early and Lady Death.
Right.
And considering that he did the interiors for the entire first 5 issues and never got a cover in that whole run, to me, this is a book that is important to the character, important to this era of comic books, and from when I was talking to other collectors, this book back in the day was the book that they were chasing because the Eternity Run book was easier to find. This book was a con exclusive originally. This was a book that you had to go to cons, because back in the day, right? People would do they would do tours, like Image does a tour, or Chaos Comics. I mean, Brian Pulido and Stephen Hughes were touring cons, and that's the only way you could get this book originally.
Right.
And so it's a tough one to come by, and it's undervalued, and just I think a rare key that is available, but maybe people don't know exactly like what it is and why it's important.
Yeah, the interior is pretty tight too, man. It's got a sketchbook, all that good stuff. The covers is
I'm
amazing.
not gonna lie, I still thought Michael Turner was alive.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, he's got so many covers coming out too, right? So
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Let's get into this Faust. This is the Faust book you want to talk about, right?
Yo, what the hell is this? I saw this on the thumbnail and I was like, yo, this is crazy. I ain't never seen this.
Yeah, maybe just getting into it.
Maybe you never will, because this book, I'm posting about this book tomorrow. I'm calling this book the rarest Faust or Crow book in existence. What this is, and I talked directly with Tim Vigil over social media. I got a confirmation and I hit up Key Collector to update the listing on the app. So, man, the story behind this is really interesting, dude. So obviously Tim Vigil, Copper Age horror god, James O'Barr, Copper Age horror god, the Crow respectively, right? Created and published and put together by James O'Barr, Faust with Tim Vigil. So Tim Vigil had this idea, I guess starting it kind of goes back into the late 90s, early 2000s, of a crossover between Faust and the Crow. And he wanted this crossover to happen like in the mid 90s, right? All this started to come up because on his Instagram earlier this year, he started sharing these sketches of Faust and Crow together, and people were losing their goddamn mind. They were like, "What is this? Like, where can I get this at?" And when he was posting these pictures, he was like saying like, "Sorry, couldn't happen. I tried really hard. Maybe if we can get this like some more energy going." This, he was like apologizing to everybody, but while also posting these sketches. And so I was like, this is wild. It looks so beautiful, and like, too bad it's not gonna happen. And then, dude, cartoonist kayfabe guys, right? Ed Piscor and Jim Rugg. They have an episode in July, and you could probably find on YouTube, of this book, but they have it listed as Tim Vigil bootleg, right? Now they go through it. They had 2 issues. They said, we got these two issues in the mail of this book right here, and we don't know who it's from. We just got them, but we had to go through it because of what it is, and we think it's like fan art and it's a bootleg. And they probably just like pulled these screen grabs off of Tim Vigil's social media, but they continue to talk about it, and they flip through the book every page and talk about the characters and the artists. That happens in July, right? I don't see that video until maybe like September, like early September. So I'm a little late seeing that video, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is real! Like, this actually happened."
Yeah.
Because in the background, I'm in some other groups, and they were like, "Yo, like I heard this book was coming together. Has anybody seen this? We saw Tim post this, or yada yada." So it was like really like a heavy rumor, And then all of a sudden, dude, like a miracle out of nowhere, this Canadian seller posts 4 yellow label CGC 9.8s, all signed and remarked by Tim Vigil himself, that just got like graded like a month ago, right?
Yep.
2 books have a remark featuring Faust, and 2 books have a remark featuring Crow, and all yellow labeled 9/8 of this book, and it pops up, and I see it, and I'm like, what? He has one listed for. Do you have the other pic, dude? I sent you of the sales of this book.
You know what, man? Like my phone be acting
Okay,
stupid.
I'll talk about it. So
Okay.
so one immediately sells for $250. Like
Oh my God.
immediately sells, right? And I was like, oh, what? Like what's happening? And then he takes down the other 3 listings and relists them all as one of the next one was like $600 or best offer, and that one immediately sells for like $350.
Uh-huh.
And then he takes down the other 2 listings and relists them for 1,000 or best offer, and then the next one sells for $750. And he takes the last one down and he relists it at 2,000 or best offer, and then like 3 days ago it sold for just over $1,000.
Oh my God.
So like in a span of like maybe 15 days, this book went from like being a rumor of existing to like 498s signed, remarked by Tim Vigils, selling, like, you know, going up, right? Like gradually, like in a matter of 2 weeks. So what happened was that Tim Vigil made these copies along with 2 other people in terms of like production as a pitch to James O'Barr to get this comic crossover off the ground. And he made 50 copies. He sent 2 of them to the Cartoonist Kayfabe guys, and I don't know how many to James O'Barr, but he sent them to James O'Barr as a sort of like, hey, this is what this idea could be, and this is what could happen. He never heard back from James O'Barr about it. It never moved forward. It's kind of just DOA. It's a what if at this point. Unless something else happens, and it's maybe IDW probably has to give approval for Crow. But those 50 copies were made, and then the only way you can get these, and this is like confirmed with people who I know have at least 1 copy, and from Tim himself, is he only gives these to people when you buy OA from him directly from cons, and you have to spend a certain amount of money. And I couldn't confirm how much you have to spend to get this book and how much OA you have to buy. But the seller who did have the 4 issues, I confirmed with him that he did buy a lot and spent a lot of money on OA from Tim, which is why he got 4 copies. And then I found somebody else who had a copy, and they said they had also bought OA from Tim Vigil, which is how they were able to get this book as well. So there's maybe like, I don't know, 30 to 20 copies available who are most likely with Tim Vigil still. And I'm guessing the only way, I told Tim, I was like, hey, you know, this book sold for $1,000 when I was confirming how many were made. He said, I had no idea this book sold for that much, but yeah, there's 50 or less of these out there, and that's it. So this book is a ghost, dude, unless it pops up again somewhere, unless you buy an indeterminate amount of OA from Tim Vigil directly. I think it's amazing that you have this crossover with these 2 like Copperidge characters and these 2 artists, O'Barr and Tim Vigil, you know, in this what if category. And this book is just so sick, dude. I mean, look at that cover, like it's sick. And if you look at the video of Cartoonist Kayfabe, they go through each page and
That's
sort
cool.
of like what could have been.
Yeah, I think it's tight because of the story. I mean, like it sounds like I don't know if there's any females watching the chat, but like to get like a Birkin bag at Hermes, you have to like spend like a certain amount of money, and then you're put like on a list, and then you can buy it. So that's like the Birkin bag of comic books right here to me.
Yeah.
Jason, man, what do you think about this cover before you got to take off?
It makes me upset that you know that about those bags.
Hey, you know, it's.
He's like, I don't know if there's any ladies in here, but
he has a wife.
When you try to get a purse.
I used to work in like high-end retail. Okay, shut up.
No, but like you said, like I've never seen this before in my life. I dig that cover, and it's like simplistic in like the cover, but it's just so well done. But yeah, like he said, the story of it just kind of makes it even better.
Fedora, what do you think, man?
There's some pretty. This is sick. I mean, I wish there was a way to make a shirt out of it, right? Like do some like if it's already a bootleg, might as well make some fucking merchandise out of it, because this is like it would make a really good like t-shirt, like a sweater, like a white on black, a black on white, like it really looks good, and it looks really like vintage, and I think the aesthetic of like with Gen Z and all those younger kids is like they like kind of like the dated look on anything like comics, t-shirts, so it's got a lot going for it in terms of like art, collectability, availability. It's a triple threat. So $1,000, if anything goes crazy with the Crow, I think this might be like the grail of all Crow books to get, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So shout outs to the person who bought it for $150.
Yeah, shout out to the guy who sold it for.
The first sale was $250.
I know, man.
And then
That's crazy.
2,000 in like 2 weeks, dude. It was wild, man. But yeah.
That's cool, man. Before we go, I just want to thank everyone or before we move on, I just want to say thank everyone for being in the chat. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jason, you got to take off to your brunch, the Seahawks game. Sounds like, right?
You going on a date, Jason?
No, it's a birthday thing.
Early. That's disappointing, but that's all right. That's all right.
Pop's birthday is like.
I'm pretty sure Jason's been on a lot of dates.
Oh, of course. Huh? Yeah, of course. We're moving on to the next one. Let's see here. Oh, did you want to talk about Caliber Presents, or I don't know if you talked about this before, but if you want to talk about a Matrix.
Oh, I think y'all talked about this on the last show. I think I was going to be on. I think y'all mentioned this when y'all talked about the Crow. Maybe it was this one, but again, this is a Tim Vigil cover, dude. I'm a sucker for that dude's work. Obviously this is best known for the first print of the Crow, and it should be. But this is just again like an outlaw gem. It's a cool book. I know cover sort of dictates the value of the Crow or whatnot, but it's so funny, dude, because like the Crow one is like his like fourth appearance, like in a way. Like you have this as first appearance, you have preview, you have like two books that have a back page preview on it of his image, right, of like cameos. But I mean, I think this book is amazing, but not just because of the Crow, because of everybody involved in this, and that this established Caliber Presents, which went on to like do like 25 issues, I think, total,
right.
With tons of amazing artists. So it's a killer book.
Yeah, for sure. And just to kind of round out the rest of our show, I'm gonna go on to a little bit of market report real quick, and then we'll say goodbye for the rest of the week. So you all know that I've been trying to get into this whole video game kind of segment. It's really intriguing, but I want to kind of keep it with the theme of the show and kind of keep it horror. But Silent Hill video game, PS1, CIB means complete in box. Goes from 150 to 200. I think this is like, if you're collecting or trying to flip, whatever, Silent Hill is a pretty good one to invest in. I mean, there's been a movie about it. It's one of those, with Resident Evil. I mean, it's one of those silent or horror video games that's kind of, I think, in everyone's collection. So that's the going price for it right now if you're trying to look for one.
Dude, I love Silent Hill, man. That game changed my life, dude.
Dude, it's one of those, like after Resident Evil, I feel like this is like the 1A of horror video games for PlayStation. But man, like
Silent Hill 2 is the one that costs more, no?
What's that?
I feel like Silent Hill 2 is the one that costs more, no?
I'm not sure. I didn't look at when I was looking at between the two. I was just like, oh man, I remember Silent Hill when I was like a kid. So you might be right, but
I mean, it's recognized as like probably the best like horror game of all time, if not a contender for being number one, because it's like so driven, psychological.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I remember playing Silent Hill as a teenager. It blew my mind, man. When like the background starts to change, that siren starts. The soundtrack, the score of this game is phenomenal, dude. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was like in my like 17 or 16, 17 when this game came out, and man, yeah, it was a good time. This was for Jason, but unfortunately he left. But this is not Event Horizon. This is Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
So Fedora, I've been trying to get in the Steelbook game. Oh, I say Steelbook game. This Steelbook just kind of just put it on notice or whatnot. But Rob Zombie put out a bunch of horror movies, and this is probably, I think this is his first, I want to say, directed horror movie. A new Steelbook just came out. I don't think this is like a Best Buy exclusive, but it's definitely a Steelbook. Goes for $40. So if you're on the hunt for some horror flicks, whether it be collecting or actually watching it, this is a Steelbook for $40 that came out. Matrix, you ever seen this movie? What's that?
Get those Best Buy exclusives.
Get those Best Buy exclusives, man. Yeah. But yeah, Matrix, have you seen this movie before?
Yeah, dude. Actually, it's funny on the train. I don't get a lot of signal on the train, so I have to sort of download videos to watch on YouTube, while I'm on the train. I just watched a 30-minute documentary that came on the DVD extras of House of a Thousand Corpses of the making of it.
Yeah.
And it's like a behind the scenes with everybody, and I literally just finished that a few days ago. I've seen this one too. It's so wild, man. But I think House of Thousand Corpses is obviously a modern masterpiece. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Fedora, do you guys sell movies at Midtown, or is that even a thing?
Yo, everybody asked that. Some dude came in and he looked like, I swear to God, he looked like Sanford from Sanford and Son. He was dressed like him. He looked like him. He had the swag. He was strutting around. He came in strutting around. A friend of mine came to visit and say hi to me. She was there. He walks up to me and he goes, "You guys sell cassettes?" And I was like, that question took me by I was flabbergasted. And I'm like, well, what do you mean cassettes, VHS? He's like, yeah, VHS. And he had a cane and he was slamming the cane on the ground to emphasize VHS. And then my friend looked at him and she turned red because she was trying to hold in her laughter. And I was like, nah, we don't sell VHS. He's like, I'm looking for Christopher Reeves tapes. And I'm like we don't have that. He goes, what about DVDs? And I was like, we don't sell DVDs either. And then he looks at me and he goes, this is a comic book store and you don't goddamn sell no goddamn DVDs. So then he starts walking away. And then my manager goes, listen, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then he looks at him and he goes, and then he throws his hand at him and he walks out. And then later that day, somebody calls and he's like, I have a question. And I was like, well, I have an answer. He goes, do you sell DVDs? And I was like, no. And then he just hung up. So.
All right. I guess I won't ask if you guys sell movies or DVDs then next time. I got my answer. So everyone, you're trying to find DVDs, movies, cassettes at Midtown. No, the answer is no. Do not ask.
You can go, all right. I'll let you in on a little secret. Our outlet in Astoria has some sealed DVDs. I don't know what they are, but they're sealed. So do what you want with that information. It may or may not be something you want, but
hey, it is what it is, man. All right, moving on back to comic books. I wanted to kind of highlight just in the mood of horror season, all that stuff. But I looked up these recent sales and opportunities, right? With the Christmas season coming up, con season coming to a close. People are trying to get rid of books, right? I mean that Faust Pro freaking went for $250, like Matrix was saying, but. Some books you guys may actually know of. Something is Killing the Children, which is still in production hell, I guess, or it's coming out eventually. But
yeah, one day.
Yeah, seriously, right? Those 9/8 are going for $630. I saw one go for $590, as low as $590. So you guys are in the hunt.
It was $1,200. It was
$1,200 at the beginning of the year when Netflix said they're going to move forward with the show. So I mean, I don't know if this is a bottom. I don't know if this is, the next level. Matrix, other than horror stuff, do you buy any modern stuff like these two books at all?
Nah. I mean, I watch the circus. and I watched like the channel that is like, you know, killing children. Dude, it's been so wild, you know, seeing a book like this, uh, where it's at, where it was, you
Mhm.
know, what's happening with it. I know that can be said for a lot of books right now, but specifically something like this because you know, of what it meant to the like comic community at a certain time. Not to me per se, but as a
Yeah.
viewer and observer, like
Sure.
what people like did with this book was it was a master class in you know, learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this book was like crazy, man. Yeah, crazy, stupid,
But I can
expensive.
see the potential for it still, even now, considering you know what may or may not happen with IP of it.
Sure.
But you know, I'd be more inclined for The Last of Us. You know,
Me
just
too.
given again like how rare it is, the rarity. I mean, again, I'm just about the books that are harder to find. You know, and The
Yeah.
Last of Us was definitely one of those books. Even I knew like even before that came out, when after I played the game, I saw this book. You could pick it up for like maybe 20, 25 bucks, you know, like
Yeah.
back in the day. It was no
Yeah,
big deal,
sure.
but even then there weren't a lot listed, but it wasn't expensive if you did find it.
Yeah. And I think for a 9.4 in today's market, as you know, Fedora say 9.8 or bust, I think that's respectable. 250, 247. He's laughing his ass off. This is a low print book. I think only 17,000 copies came out. Fedora, I'll meet you real quick. What do you get people asking for this book at all? Or either one of these books in Midtown?
No,
No.
that's the one that never gets asked about.
Gotcha.
I would say though, this is why when Dark Horse puts out video game comics, buy multiple copies because they don't make a
A lot
lot
of
of
them.
them. People
No.
that have the book kind of already like if you're buying Dark Horse, you're already like in the know, right? Like you're kind of you there's a 7 out of 10 chance that you may be a speculator if you're buying number one from Dark Horse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I'm just gonna
Yeah, yeah.
say that.
No, that's
And
all good.
then two, if you are that 7 out of 10 people, you know that these books are low print. Like, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the people that have this or have been had it, they know, you know, The Last of Us is an amazing game and something may happen at some point, which is why they're not willing to part with it. Even some of the I know Wildstorm put out God of War comics,
Mhm.
and we only ever get issues 2, 3, and 4. We never get number one.
Oh, funny. That's
Yeah, so you know, a lot of these big video game franchises, people who have the number ones don't want to let go, which is why I'm telling y'all, Cyberpunk 2077 Trauma
it's not a
Team,
bad one. Yeah, it's not a bad one. I like that one, man, for sure.
get it while you can, get it while it's affordable.
And because, you know, we all love Star Wars, I want to put these out because, you know, the show just ended. Um, you know, there's a lot of speculation, but I feel like the video game just properties, whether they go to big screen or not, like there's more of like a loyalty, I think, towards these properties. So just, you know, again, 9.8, this is actually one of the auctions I was bidding on, but Knights of the Old Republic #9 went for 568, which I think is pretty low compared to, I think it was selling from 900 to 1,000 a few months ago. The Star Wars video game for Knights of the Old Republic on Xbox went recently for 199 with a tear in the seal, which I thought was like, wow, there's a tear in the seal and it still went for 200 bucks.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Matrix, are you a Star Wars fan at all? Or are you just strictly horror?
You know, when I think about Star Wars, I usually go to sleep, bro.
I mean, honestly, man, it's all good. That's cool. I know Fedora's not a big Star Wars fan, or
Yeah, once we get into stars and wars and Galacticas and Treks, like you lost me. But
I mean,
I do.
I appreciate you
that
guys.
being said, I did watch. You know, I do watch the movies. You know, and I
Yeah,
enjoy them for
sure.
what they
Yeah, yeah.
are. You know, but and I do watch the shows. You know, and they can make me feel some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'm definitely not like you know to the lore one. I'm like, okay, here's a movie. Let's put it on with my popcorn.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, things are glowing. People are fighting tight.
They got these
And
sticks.
then you know, and that's it. You know.
Yeah, no, that's cool, respectable. And last but not least, just kind of give you guys an idea that people are still in the chat here. I've been digging these collector edition bundles for video games. You got Diablo here. This is Black Ops. Knights of the Old Republic again, and then Final Fantasy 16. The only problem with these bundles is like I can't store I can only hold like 3 or 4 at a time, but it's a waiting game. So like if you buy it for like 200 or 300, you could probably sell it for double or maybe even triple in some cases in a couple years after that. But the fact
Some of the old Fallout stuff goes for a lot of money.
yeah, especially like the Black Ops stuff or like Halo, that goes for like pretty good money. So I don't know, something to think about. Again, like if you can get a good deal on it,
How much are these?
So these range. So like this Final Fantasy one when it came out, it was like I want to say 300 to 400.
So this is like the video game, and then like a bunch of like just other stuff, add-ons.
Yeah, so it just comes like this big ass box, right?
Yeah.
And then it may come with a statue or like a collector's book, stuff like that. A steel book, for example.
Yo, you got to get on that Friday the 13th one I showed you, bro.
I'll think about it, man. Again,
that one's nice. That one's nice.
The tough thing though, man, is like I just can't. I don't got places to put it. That's the only problem. I mean, like slabs, right? You just put it in a box. But Matrix, they're heavy, man. And yeah. Fedora, the one Fedora's talking about, it's a Friday the 13th PS3 sealed, PS4 sealed. It's a Jason mask with the video game, which it's cool. I'll think about it, man. We'll think about it. But,
that's pretty rad, man. I mean, that seems like if you're into these games, and this is like, if you're a gamer, dude, you're spending so much time, dude. Just like time. This becomes your life, for however long. So if you're that big of a fan and into dude, I'd be all over those if I was into that. If there was a Silent Hill one that came out, and depending on what was in it, my connection with that game, I'd be like, oh damn, let me look at this.
I mean, the thing too now is it's like they're reissuing like the old school marquee games, and then they'll do like a collector's bundle. So if I see one, I'll shoot you a message for sure, and all that good stuff. But that's the end of our show. Matrix, bro, I want to thank you again for coming to the show. I know a lot of people were bugging me like, hey, when Matrix come back, like, is Matrix gonna come back and do a new show?
Famous.
And all that stuff?
Famous.
He's wanted, man.
Now, bro, he's famous.
Dude, I just want
you might see me in the chat just randomly say it on the Discord.
I just want anybody to everybody keep their eyes out for those books. If you see them, pick them up. Most likely, you're not going to come across them in the wild. They're tough to come by, and be warned. Some of these books, if you actually crack them open and look at them and read them, they're pretty twisted. So just be prepared for what's being talked about. They are adult-only books. Don't go give these to your niece and nephew for Christmas. These are copyrighted hard goodness, hard to come by, and our work and stories are pretty phenomenal. So glad I got to share with everybody, man.
Yo, Matrix, stop by Midtown Comics. Come say hi to your boy.
Yo, you're at the one in Queens, right?
No. Sometimes I'm there. It rotates. Not everybody that works there is like the same. Like
I just took a break. My lunch break. I went to Midtown in the city. I went in there the other day.
Wait, which one? The one on Grand Central?
Yeah.
You went Friday or Saturday?
I think I went like a Wednesday during my lunch break.
Oh yeah. I don't work Wednesdays. Oh, okay. But this week I'm gonna be there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you'll see me behind the register. And Ferd, before you leave, I do read one Star Wars series, but that's only because I know the writer, and he's the first Star Wars book that I bought.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
I kind of have to. I kind of have to keep buying it. That's the homie. So,
hey,
so shout outs to he got a new book called A Haunted Girl. So please check that out if you haven't. Ethan Sachs is the man, and he's a big Shuhei Ohtani fan. So You know?
Well, he's
Yeah.
going to Seattle, so to tell him I'm sorry. I did also link up our Discord, Matrix. You're more welcome to join and share some of your
Matrix,
knowledge
join.
and all that. And then I also did. You guys probably already follow Matrix, but I showed his Instagram on there just for fun. And shout out to Key Collector for allowing allowing your segment there too. That's really cool of him to think of you and all that good stuff. And I don't know if he was watching, but like, I love your app. It's a good resource, and I'm glad you got Matrix on there. Anyway, everyone have a great Halloween. We may not have a show next week. Just I'll be in Mexico for the whole week. Get some warm weather. It's like 43 degrees here in Seattle. But I want to thank everyone for coming through. Thank you, Fedora. Thank you again, Matrix. We'll see you next time. I'll keep you guys all updated.